What's up YouTube, it's JackalGoldKick, and in this video I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the WWE. This was a paid request, very much appreciated to the person who sent in a paid request. They wanted me to talk about WWE. So anyone out there that is interested as well on like wanting to do a paid request where you see me do a certain type of video, I have a Cash App in the description. I recommend that. We could discuss prices because Patreon takes a cut, Cash App doesn't. And I will say that I've actually already did a video giving my thoughts on the WWE back in the day. But since it's a paid request, let's do it. Let's do it again. Fuck it. This will be the new version. So, here's my thoughts on WWE in this new version. When it comes to WWE, I haven't kept up with it in a very long time, and it's not something I keep up with anymore, and I don't really tune into it. I've seen like certain things about it through like certain people I know, like if Bud live streamed certain wrestling games in the past, or like certain YouTubers like the Brad Rules or Wrestling Jesus when they would talk about certain stuff with wrestling. That's about as far as it went. But I don't really keep up with wrestling or WWE like that and watch it like that. But back in the day, to give my history of WWE, I did grow up on it. I was born in 1999, and I did grow up on WWE and wrestling growing up in the 2000s because my family, especially my brother, they were fans of wrestling. They were fans of WWE. So since they were fans of it and they knew about it and they were into it, it was like around me basically growing up. So it was like I pretty much came into life knowing what wrestling is, what WWE is. And at least when I was growing up around wrestling, it was when it was still good. Because a lot of people say wrestling and WWE sucks nowadays. And I can see why they say that based on things I've seen, even though I haven't really kept up with it like that nowadays. So I came upon in the 2000s and I would watch certain wrestling matches and clips of WWE and wrestling on TV in general through the 2000s and through knowing it through my family. And then I think my brother had this like DVD of like Undertaker episodes. I haven't seen that in a very long time. That was something he had. He also had like this 3 disc set of a whole bunch of wrestling matches. That was something I watched before in the 2000s. I also remember. See, I don't know if WWE, if we can go outside that lane and talk about other wrestling companies. So hopefully the paid request person doesn't mind this because I kind of look at it as an in general thing. But like SmackDown, WWE, and then some of the wrestlers I like, I think are from WWC. I'm not the best when it comes to knowledge about wrestling, but SmackDown was something I watched coming up in the 2000s on TV, and my brother was into it. I played some of the games. I had a PlayStation 1 wrestling game. I think it was a SmackDown game, and you could create your character. I played that. That was fun back in the day. And then there was a wrestling game I had on N64. I think it was No Mercy with Goldberg on the cover. That is a good game. I like that one. And then I played a little bit of Raw on, what was it, the original Xbox. I played Raw, and so I played some wrestling games. I wasn't a fan of WWE 2K15 though because the game was just very slow. Like the gameplay was so slow. I was like, this is terrible, man. I can't play this junk. And when it comes to the wrestlers I like, I actually have a list this time because my original thoughts in WWE, I forgot to mention some things. So now I actually have a list of what I was able to think of in terms of what wrestlers do I like to add more of this thoughts in WWE video. So the wrestlers I like, Booker T is a really good wrestler. He was one of my favorites and one I liked. I always thought his theme song was amazing and kicked ass. Goldberg was another one. He was probably one of my favorite wrestlers. I really liked him a lot. He had a really good theme song. I always liked using him in the wrestling games. The Rock is a great wrestler as well. I like him too. He's definitely the best WWE actor because he's made one of my all-time favorite movies, Walking Fucking Tall. Walking Tall 2004 is a classic. One of my favorite movies of all time. The Rock's best movie. I love that film. Kicking people's ass with a 2x4, coming in the casino, smashing shit up. That movie, I could watch that movie 1,000 times. I've seen it so many times. Plus, he has other good movies as well, like, I don't know if any of them's coming to me, but Walking Tall specifically was my favorite one. He was good in The Nice Guys. And then there was like, I don't know, I don't want to leave too much dead hair in here, so he has some good movies, but Walking Tall is the only one that's coming to mind at the moment. But yeah. And then you have Vader, which rest in peace to him. He did die. I do like Vader. He was a pretty good wrestler, and I thought he had a pretty cool look. Same with Rock, Goldberg, and Booker T. They had a cool design as well. I forgot to mention that. Boogeyman was somebody else I liked. He was one of the newer wrestlers when I was still following wrestling in the 2000s, like in the mid 2000s, late 2000s. I liked Boogeyman. He would like spew and like puke out worms out of his mouth and stuff like that. I thought he was cool, had a cool design. So Boogeyman is someone else I liked. X-Pac, I remember being pretty cool. But I heard he had injuries and stuff, and from my knowledge, I think he wasn't able to go all the way as a wrestler. But wrestling fanatics, let me know about that situation in the comments. But Xbox is good. Kevin Nash is a good wrestler too. He had a really good role in The Punisher where he fought Thomas Jane. That scene is amazing. Thomas Jane fighting Kevin Nash playing his big ass Russian. And he actually took the knife in his chest for real and kept the scene going. That's how you know Kevin Nash is crazy, tough, and he can take a lot of pain. So yeah, Kevin Nash, great wrestler. Hulk Hogan, that's another really good wrestler. I like him as well. He was another one I liked. Cool design. He wore cool clothes. Kevin Nash had a cool design as well. Both of them had cool designs, especially when they were doing the whole NWO Wolfpack thing, when they were like a crew or something and they were the bad guys. That was pretty cool. Their theme song, which is like the rock song, that's a pretty good theme song too. I also love the rap song that C Murder made for the Wolfpack. It's next to the Booker T theme. It might be my favorite like WWE wrestling type song. The song called Wolfpack rap song by the rapper C Murder, who was in No Limit Records. That song is awesome. I love that track. Definitely a solid one. Some other wrestlers I like Rey Mysterio. He was someone else I liked too. I liked what I saw from him, and I always thought he looked cool with his mask. And yeah, he's another one. Another wrestler I liked was Kane. Kane was really cool, you know, when he had the mask and stuff like that. Some cool stuff. Wasn't too crazy about his movies, to be honest. Didn't really remember caring much for the See No Evils, but Kane was definitely a good wrestler, especially when he had the mask. That was his best look and coolest design. Sting was another cool wrestler, based his look off The Crow, Brandon Lee's The Crow. Sting was a cool wrestler, had a really cool design, and he was definitely cool. I had a toy of Sting. I don't know where it's at, but maybe it was my brother who got it because he was into wrestling, probably more into wrestling than I am, if I had to guess, because he's revisited certain wrestling stuff where I haven't, you know, which I'll get to in a minute on basically how I'm going to sum up my whole wrestling view. But I think it was my brother's or it was mine, a toy of Sting. It was like this giant toy of Sting where he's wearing like a tank top with pants and he had like the face paint and stuff like that. Pretty cool. And then Undertaker, of course, is another cool wrestler, like him as well. I actually had a toy of him when he was the American Badass, I think, where he's on the motorcycle and he had the Limp Bizkit song, which that was a good theme song. My favorite version of Rollin' is the remix with DMX, Method Man, and Redman. Yeah, that's a good song. And then the Ultimate Warrior, he's dead now, unfortunately. Rest in peace to him. But I really like the Ultimate Warrior. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. He had a really cool personality. He had a really cool design, and he stood out. He was a great wrestler, and I liked him as well. Stone Cold, great wrestler too, great character. Definitely one of the best ones as well. He's had some pretty good movies. You know, I like The Package. I think it's called like Damage or something. He has to fight to get money for something wrong he did or something like that. And then he trained a teenager in high school to fight. I think it was called Knockout or something like that. So he's had some good movies. So I do like him. And then now John Cena's on here, but I'm only really mentioning his music. I don't really remember how I feel about John Cena as a wrestler, to be honest. I'll give him credit as a person because he actually visits, you know, kids with cancer in school. So he definitely seems like a good person for doing that. His movies, though, I mean, I remember liking The Marine and liking 12 Rounds, but I haven't seen them in a while. But it don't seem like Cena's too good in the movie business. But I will give him this. I think John Cena can make some good songs. And I think John Cena is the best WWE turned musician. Because a lot of the other wrestlers, like I heard Rey Mysterio tried doing music and it wasn't good. I heard Hulk Hogan's music and it wasn't no good. At least John Cena had some good songs. You know, The Time Is Now, This Is How We Roll, what was the other song? Breaks with Wiz Khalifa. My personal favorite song by him was the song Make It Loud. That's the best song I think he did. I was listening to that like crazy recently. It's a really good song. So John Cena's made some really good rap songs. And then I'm not too familiar with CM Punk, but I wrote him down because there was a movie of his I wanted to mention that he was in, since this is wrestling related. CM Punk had a movie called, I think, The Girl on the Third Floor. That movie started off pretty dope because it was almost like CM Punk's Evil Dead, but I won't spoil it, but they ruined that movie, and I was like, yeah, this is some dog shit. And then I just remembered there were a few other wrestlers that I forgot to mention in this video that I didn't write down on the list. But yeah, another wrestler I like is Edge. I think Edge was a pretty cool wrestler. I liked him as well. I think I had a toy of him. I don't know if it was my friend or me, but there was some wrestling toy where it was like a ring that you put wrestlers in. That was pretty cool too. Now, like matches and fights, that's not really coming to me the best. I will admit it. Like I can't really like like WWE in the 2000s, what I've seen of it, and SmackDown and Raw, and the wrestlers I liked and the matches they were involved in. It was entertaining stuff, and I liked it. You know, them, talking in the rings with the mic or like fighting in the matches. A lot of it was entertaining. I do remember one specific one where Mark Henry was being lifted up by John Cena. Oh yeah, that's another wrestler I like. I forgot to mention Mark Henry. He's pretty good too. I liked him as well. But it's hard for me to like remember all of the specific matches when it comes to wrestling in WWE. But yeah, when it comes to like specific matches, it's hard for me to remember all of them. I know there was another one that I remember watching, which was Rey Mysterio versus the Great Khali. That was a good match too. It's just like when it comes to wrestling, I would say that I'm like a casual fan of it, where I grew up on it, I played some of the games, and I've seen movies from wrestling actors, and I like some of John Cena's songs, and I definitely have some wrestlers I like, and I respect it, and it's something I did come up on, and I'm familiar with, and I do like it. But I guess the reason I would say, well, maybe I'm not a casual fan. I guess I would say I am a fan of it, but I don't know if I'd say I'm a fanatic of it, because the thing with me that I want to say about like WWE, wrestling, SmackDown, or Raw, it's one of those things in my life that I never like return to. Like I haven't tried to really return to it. Like I said, I've seen things about it in the news, maybe Bud playing a wrestling game or certain YouTubers talking about wrestling, but for the most part, I haven't really like sat down and revisited old or new wrestling and like delved in it again. It's just something I've never done. So yeah, that's really, I think, if there's anything else I could mention. I mean, that's really. Now there's some few more things I could mention with wrestling WWE. I do know that I stopped following wrestling and WWE in general around like it was the mid late 2000s where I stopped watching it, and I just found interest in other things, video games, and well, I was always into video games, but I drifted into other things and just kind of stopped following wrestling as time went on around the mid to late 2000s. But I just haven't kept up with it in so long and don't really keep up with what's going on and haven't really revisited any of it. So I'm not really, I feel like, the best when it comes to remembering a lot of things or talking about specific matches. And, they actually, injure their own bodies. Like, even though see, this is one of the things I heard about wrestling that kind of distorted, I guess, the perception of it later on, where people felt like it was real back in the day, but now that it's fake, it kind of ruins it or something. But essentially, it's like fake in terms of like, they don't really hate each other, they're playing characters, but it's real in terms of the pain and damage they do to each other. And I will say this, I would take wrestling over something like UFC, MMA. That stuff's never interested me personally. But another wrestler, this just came to me now. Another wrestler I like is Mankind, aka Mick Foley. He was another wrestler I really liked. He was one of my favorites. He was crazy. He always did a bunch of crazy stuff. I remember like he put a bunch of nails in his head or some crazy shit, and he got thrown off some high roof thing with Undertaker. That was some crazy shit. So he's pretty cool. And then of course you had that piece of shit Chris Benoit who killed his family. But one thing about the Chris Benoit thing, though, is they were supposed to do a movie about Chris Benoit. They were actually supposed to do a movie about him where Liev Schreiber was going to play him, and I wish it would have been made, but they didn't make it because the family didn't want them to make it, which I can understand that, but I still wanted to see a movie about that. I think it would have been interesting, but I didn't know what to think of Chris Benoit as a wrestler. There's plenty of other wrestlers I'm probably not mentioning. Like I know it's Brock Lesnar and the Hardys and stuff, but I'm not as familiar with them. I don't know, but yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. So my overall thoughts on WWE and wrestling is, I think it's a cool thing, and from what I saw coming up, I liked it, but it's not something I've kept up with anymore, and it's not something that I've felt like a huge desire to go back to or revisit like that. Maybe one day I will, or maybe one day for some reason I will come back to it, who knows? But as it stands, I liked wrestling at one point, but it's something that I just kind of drifted away from as life went on, and that's really all there is to it. But I do know that it's shit nowadays compared to back in the day. A lot of people have said that due to, I guess, like how they ran the show and certain wrestlers. And then another thing I will say is kind of stupid about the wrestling community that I don't like. I did a rant about this back in the day. It's one thing to rant on wrestling and why it sucks, but there's some people out there that wrestling is complete shit for them, but they'll keep watching that shit even though it sucks and keep making videos on it. I always thought that was stupid. That would be like if I kept watching The Walking Dead, knowing I don't like it anymore, and just keep making rant videos on it. It would be stupid. But it gets good views, so maybe that's why they do it. Anyways, that's really all I have to say in this video for my thoughts on WWE. Hopefully it was okay for me to include SmackDown and Raw. I know there's TNA, but I didn't follow that too much, or Impact Wrestling, so that's the best I could do. That's everything I could talk about in my overall thoughts on wrestling and WWE. So that's it for this video, this new version. Thanks once again to the person who sent in this paid request. It's much appreciated. And I think that's all I have to say in this video. Peace. And let me know in the comments what wrestlers you like. Subscribe if you like this. And then hit the like button if this is a good video. Peace.